Hi friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And before I get into anything, I want to say happy 2025 to everyone, and I hope you had great holidays and you share it with people, family, and friends that you love. And I hope everyone is doing well. We are in a little bit of a snowy situation here, nothing like the Midwest. I hope everyone who was really bombarded with this big major storm, I hope everyone is warm and safe. Hopefully you have electricity so that you can play games or watch movies, do something that you love while you ride out the storm. What I have for you today is the start of a series of videos that I'm going to be doing over the next, I'd say, week or so. And I do it every year, the end of every year, and they are my favorites of the year. So favorites of 2024. What I have today are my top 15 favorite films of 2024, and I'll get into like different things, box sets, packaging, steelbooks. We'll see what I come up with, but I have things planned. These are in no particular order. Also, these reflect the films that I have seen. I haven't seen everything. Like, I wanted to see Sing Sing. I haven't been able to see that yet. I haven't gone to the movies, the theater, to see Nosferatu yet, so I know that probably would have made my list, but there are some things that haven't made my list. Also, keep in mind that these are my opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right. Your list is probably going to look very different than mine. We may share some similar titles, but maybe not. So feel free to leave down in the comments what are your favorites of 2024. And these are in no particular order. I'm just going to get right into it. And if I've talked about these before, I'm going to keep my commentary very brief because you don't need to hear me ramble on and on and on. I've already gone on too long in this intro. This first one is a film that I had never heard of, and I was on Grindhouse Video just poking around, and I saw it, and I was like, I really want to see this. I'm a huge fan of biopics, especially music biopics, and this one is about an Irish rap group. It's called Kneecap, and if you haven't seen this or you haven't heard of it, definitely check into it because it's really, really good. And what it says on the back, it says it's clearly destined for cult status, and I believe this. This movie was a blast. And it says, of the 80,000 native Irish speakers, so only 80,000 people worldwide speak in the native Irish tongue. 6,000 live in North Ireland, in the north of Ireland, and 3 of them made up a rap group. So these 3 are speaking in their native Irish tongue, and they started a rap group. And the cool thing about this movie, one of many cool things about it, are the 3 guys who play the main guys that make up this rap band. They're the real guys that were in the band, that are in the band. They're playing themselves, but it's not a documentary, it's a biopic. So it's like a fictional account of their real life, if that makes sense. But this is so much fun, and if you haven't seen it or you haven't heard of it, definitely do your homework, check it out, see if it's something that you'd be interested in. If you don't mind the subtitles, I think you'll do fine, because you definitely need the subtitles with this, because even parts where they're speaking English, their accents are so heavy, you're going to have difficulty understanding it, and the rest of it is in their native tongue, their native Irish tongue. So definitely check out Kneecap. It's a really, really good time, and it's a great biopic, one of the better ones that I've seen in a long time. And this next one, I've talked about it a few times on the channel. I feel like this one just keeps flying under the radar, and I wish more people would give it a chance. I don't know if it's because it's a foreign language film, if English is your main language, but it's in Korean with English subtitles. I've talked about it before. It's Exuma. Exuma? Whatever you want to call it. Exuma. Let's go with that. And this, the long and the short of it, is it's about a family who believes they are cursed because the firstborn in each one of their members of their family seems to be born with these really strange and sometimes incurable illnesses. So the family feels like they're cursed, and what they do is they hire this group of shaman, who you can see on the back, and I've shown them before. They hire them to figure out what the curse is, or why these things are happening, and how to break it. And this is just a great time. It is so well done, really interesting, really cool. There's some really neat things that go on. They do wild things to try to break these curses. They do these big elaborate ceremonies and all kinds of things to try to figure out how to break this curse, but really, really good stuff. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It may be streaming by now, but I'm not sure. And this one was totally off my radar. It was a recommendation from one of you, and again, I thank you. It is Strange Darling. Now, this one was, again, it was one of my favorites of the year, but It starts out where we see a gal running out of the woods. She's all bloody, and we find out that there's a man with a shotgun who is after her. He's chasing her, he's following her. And from that moment on, it becomes a flashback. And that's one of my favorite ways for someone to tell a story, if they do it correctly. They did it right in this. They nailed it. It's so good. It's so well done. All the turns, all the twists, everything about it is great. My only issue with this one is I don't know how impactful it will be after the first watch, because that first watch is has so many just like wow moments. I don't know that you're going to get the same, you're definitely not going to get the same effect after watching it. But for me, this is so good. I would watch it over and over again, even though I know ultimately what the deal is. But if you haven't seen Strange Darling, check it out. It's well worth a watch. And this one I've talked about too. This one was, I guess it was done in 2023, but it was released in 2024, and I absolutely love this. It's based on true events. It stars Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley in Wicked Little Letters. And this takes place in the UK, and what we have is these two gals. Olivia Colman lives with her parents. She's like a middle-aged woman. She lives with her parents, and then she has a young single mother as her neighbor. Well, all of a sudden, Olivia Colman and her family start getting these letters sent to their house filled with profanity, which was a big deal back in the time when this happened. I'm not really sure about the time frame. I'm sure it says it in the movie, but I don't remember the time frame when this took place. But at that time, using profanity was considered a crime. So whoever was writing these letters was considered a criminal, and this big investigation is hatched to find out who is writing these profane letters to Olivia Colman and her family. And of course, they zero in on the single mother who goes to the pub and parties with the guys, and she may or may not be the person responsible for the letters, but this is a blast. It is so much fun. It's like a dark comedy, but it is so funny, so good. And then there's some real serious heartfelt moments where you really feel for the characters. But Wicked Little Letters, if you haven't seen it, put it on your list and give it a watch, because it's well worth it. That's my next one. And then this one will come as no surprise, because I think this is on, I'm pretty sure this is on everyone's list, but it is Furiosa, the continuation of the Mad Max saga. Now, I was a huge fan, still am a huge fan of Fury Road, so I was a little apprehensive about, like, can they top what they did with Fury Road? And I absolutely think they nailed it with this one. This one stars Anna Taylor-Joy, and she plays the younger version of Charlize Theron's character. And if you don't know, this is like a prequel to Fury Road. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check this out. The cinematography is amazing. The action's amazing. The story is well told. It's great. Sucks you right in. And it's a beautifully done movie. It's so good. And if you like the Mad Max movies, and especially Fury Road, you're going to love Furiosa. It's way up there at the top of my list. If I was going to actually rank these in any order, this would be way up at the top of my list. So that's my next one. So I'm going to grab my next few films, and we'll continue on. Okay, continuing on. This next one is the sophomore effort from Rose Glass, who brought us Saint Maud, and I love Saint Maud. I sang its praises. I continue to sing its praises. I know not everybody loves it like I do, but I thought it was a home run from the first watch. But this one, I think it brought more of an audience. I think it brought more attention to her work, and I think she has a very bright future. I know this is another one. Not everyone loved it, but people who loved it really loved it, and it is Love Lies Bleeding, and it stars Kristen Stewart and Katie O'Brien. Kristen Stewart plays a character by the name of Lou, who is kind of like a gym manager, and Katie O'Brien plays a character by the name of Jackie, who is a bodybuilder who kind of wanders into town. She's the new gal in town. She's actually living under a bridge because she's homeless. And all she wants to do is get herself in shape to go into this bodybuilding competition, which is taking place, I believe, in Las Vegas. So she's hanging around the gym, and of course, Kristen Stewart's interested in her, and they end up subsequently in a relationship, and we follow that part of it. And the other part of the story involves Kristen Stewart's family, who is highly dysfunctional, dare I even go with criminal, and they just do horrible things. They're horrible people. Pretty much everybody in this movie at some point is really unlikable and they do really terrible things, but it's a movie that you just get sucked into and you enjoy it even though they're doing horrible things. And Kristen Stewart is kind of estranged from her father, who played brilliantly by Ed Harris and his interesting hairpiece that should be a character of its own. But she's very protective over her sister, who is in an abusive relationship, and just on and on and on. I mean, you name it, it happens in this movie. And if you have not seen Love Lies Bleeding, definitely see it. I know there's some weird things that happen towards the end, but you kind of have to just let it go and see it for what it represents, not so literal. Don't look at it as this thing that's actually happening. It's more of a fantasy type of a thing. So if you haven't seen it, just keep that in mind when you watch it, and I think that you'll come away with a better understanding of what that scene was supposed to represent. But I thought this was really, really good, and I would love to see where all the characters that were left at the end, where they all end up. But I don't know that there's plans for a second one, but I really, really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a blast, and I'm really happy that A24 put out a special edition of it, because they always do a great job. But definitely check out Love Lies Bleeding if you haven't seen it. It's a good one. And this next one, I know this is not going to make everybody's list. It's probably not going to make many lists, but a lot of people thought this was really slow. I think it's great. It stars Jim Cummings, and Richard Brake is in it from, he was in 3 from Hell. He's in a lot of the Rob Zombie movies. It's called The Last Stop in Yuma County, and Jim Cummings plays a cutlery salesman. He's selling knives. He pulls over to this gas station in this little kind of desolate area. It's a gas station, and the next door is a diner. He needs fuel. The fuel truck hasn't come to the gas station yet, so the attendant tells him, listen, go over, hang out, have some food, have a cup of coffee at the diner. When the truck comes, I'll come and get you. So he's hanging around the diner. In walks other patrons and Richard Brake and his companion, and they have just pulled off a bank robbery, and they are hiding out in the diner. And all I can say is things start to get wild. It may feel slow in places, but let me tell you, there's a great story here. There's great action in parts. I found it very, very interesting. I love the dialogue. I love the way they shot it. I love the cinematography, the setting, the whole thing, and all the crazy, silly, dopey things that these characters end up doing. I just thought it was brilliant. So I had a great time with this, and I could watch it again and again. So if you're unsure about this one, if you've heard like this about it, or you feel like you're on the fence about it, give it a stream before you invest in buying it. Don't just blind buy things because people say they like them. Just give it a stream, see if you like it, and if you do, add it to your collection, because I think it's a great one. Now this next one, it kind of surprised me that it made my list, because I don't normally put comic book type movies on my best of, but it's not to say that it can't happen, because it's happened before, and here we are again. And I think this just hit me right, and it hit at a time when I felt like I personally, and I know a lot of people felt the same way, we just needed to laugh. We needed something to make us feel joy and laugh and be silly, and nothing did it like Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman was so on point. I thought the characters were great. It was funny. It made me laugh. The dancing, the antics, everything about this. I love the Deadpool movies, and throwing Wolverine into the mix just made it that much better, and I just had a blast with this. I could watch it anytime, anywhere. If you're one of the few who haven't seen it, definitely put it high on your list to watch, because you're just going to have a great time. And it is rated R, so this is not one for the kiddos, unless maybe they're a little older and you're okay with that. But there is a lot of foul language that goes on, as you could expect with Deadpool, but it's a fun one. So Deadpool and Wolverine had to make my list. Now this one, I wasn't really sure about this one after the first watch. Don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I wasn't sure how it was going to hold up on subsequent watches. What I have found, I've seen it 3 or 4 times since the first one. Every time I watch it, I like it more. And it is Late Night with the Devil. And long and short of it, this kind of, it takes place on, think like an old talk show, like Johnny Carson or something like that, Jay Leno show. And what it is, it takes place, and they have these people that are supposedly possessed, or they have special powers, and all these crazy things start happening. And we, as the viewers, are watching what was taped the night that these events took place. So I guess it's almost a found footage movie, but it doesn't really present that way, but it's really, really cool. And if you enjoy late night TV, you're going to eat this one up because the setting is perfect. And I just thought everything about this was a lot of fun. And like I said, each time I watch it, I like it just a little bit more. And it's one of my favorites, obviously, of 2024. I think this is a banger, and I think everybody should give it a chance. And I'm pretty sure you can stream this one too if you're not sure, but it is so worth the watch and subsequent watches. So Late Night with the Devil had to make my list. Now this one, I know it was billed as a horror movie, but I am putting this in the thriller, straight up thriller category. I said it when I talked about it the first time. To me, it's like a Silence of the Lambs light, and it is Longlegs. And I know this is very divisive as well. Like, people either love it or they hate it, but I think it's because it was billed as a horror movie, and it's not really a horror movie. It's more of like a serial killer thriller movie. But Nicolas Cage is really, he's unhinged in this movie. He's not in it that much. He's not in it that long, but when he is in it, he just takes over the screen. I think this is one of his best performances in a really long time, and I thought he nailed it. He nailed the character, and I can't wait to see what they do next with it. But I don't want to say too much about this because it's easy to spoil. I know in parts it can feel really dreamy and like surreal, and the FBI agent who is the head of the case, who they make the lead of the case, she kind of has like premonitions about things, so you kind of have to suspend disbelief and just go with it that she's able to have these premonitions. But that's how they played it on this one, and I think maybe that's part of what took people out of it. But I just went with it, and I enjoyed this. I thought this was really, really good. And even though I didn't find it to be a horror film, I think it definitely lived up to the hype of being a good movie, and it is one of my favorites of 2024. So if you haven't seen Longlegs, give it a look. I know it's definitely streaming, so you can watch it that way. And I'm going to grab my last few films, and we're going to wrap this one up. Okay, I have my last 5, and we're going to call it a day. And I know this one is on probably almost everyone's list. I've seen it on pretty much almost every list I've watched. But it is Dune Part 2. I thought this was fantastic. I loved Dune. Now, I know not everyone loves the Dune movies, but I really do. I really do enjoy them. I think the cinematography is beautiful. I think the acting is great. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the interactions between the characters. I really, really enjoyed the first one. It was one of my favorites of last year. But now, when I went into this one, I had very high hopes. What I found is I thought it started slow. I thought the first part of this movie started slow, and I was like, I don't know. But then once that story kicks in, it just takes you and sweeps you up into the whole world of what's going on, and I thought it was fantastic, and I am so looking forward to Part 3, and I'm so ready for it, and I think this was a great setup for Part 3, and I can't wait to see where it goes from there. So Dune 2 had to make my list for favorites of 2024. I just think it's a winner. Now, this is one that I have not seen on other lists. Doesn't mean that it's not on other lists, but this is a movie that I stumbled upon it and I gave it a watch. I really liked it. I'm a big fan of coming of age movies, and this one's a banger. It takes place in 2008, the summer before a young man by the name of Didi goes into high school, and that's the name of the movie, Didi. And he's a young fella who, like I said, he's leaving middle school, he's going into high school, he's going to be a freshman, and he's into skateboarding and hanging out with his friends, and he's not very nice to his mother. He's really obnoxious to his mother, but he's also into like YouTube and making videos and videoing his friends when they skateboard, and he's kind of a kid who's trying to be cool, but he's not really cool, and he hasn't found his footing yet. He doesn't really know who he is. And what we do is we follow him on his last summer vacation before high school, where he kind of tries to figure out who he is and where he fits in and who he fits in with. And he goes through various groups of friends, his main friends, and then he meets these other guys who are a little older, a little cooler, and he tells them that he can videotape them as they skate so that they can promote themselves. And he kind of tries to figure out what he's doing when he really doesn't know what he's doing because he wants to impress them. But I thought this was a really good coming of age movie, and it's very accurate, and it's a very accurate feeling movie for, first of all, it captures the time of 2008 perfectly. Like it's so on point for, it looks like a movie that would be shot in 2008. But I think it really nails that whole awkward time period that we all go through. And if you haven't gone through it yet, you will, where you're just trying to figure out who you are, where you fit in, who your friends are, who your friends aren't, and, you know, who you are going to be as an individual. And that's what he goes through. And I just think they nailed every bit of this. And I thought the young man who played the lead, I thought he was great. He was fantastic, and I hope to see more of him. I believe he's Taiwanese, but this is in English, so it's not a subtitled film. But definitely check out Dee Dee because it's a really good coming of age film. Okay, just 3 more, and it's a wrap. And you're probably gonna crack up because this is on my best of 2024, but I just had such a great time with this. This was up on Vinegar Syndrome and the partner labels. It sold out in a hot minute, and I was fortunate enough to be able to scoop one up with the slipcover from Orbit because this was tough to get your hands on. But it's called Hundreds of Beavers. This is a slipcover. It's an awesome slipcover. And I always do my homework when I buy anything from Vinegar Syndrome or the partner labels, and this one was one that I knew I wanted and I had to have it. And this was one of the darlings of the film festival circuit. And what it is it's a silent film. It's a black and white film. And think like nods to Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, things like that, like classic comedy. That's what this is. But it's done in a very, very artistic way, a very creative way. And not that those aren't, but this is done differently. It's just got nods to those classic black and white silent films. And what we have is we have a guy who plays a trapper, and what he's trying to do is he's trying to trap as many beavers and things as he can and turn the furs in for different money and prizes and weapons and things like that, because the guy he delivers them to he kind of has his eye set on the guy's daughter, and if he catches enough beavers, if he brings the guys enough beavers and he's the #1 trapper, he will let him have a ring to marry his daughter. So that's the gist that we get. Like, you have subtitles and you'll hear little things like and sound effects and funny sound effects, but this is just a blast. And I'll show you the people. The beavers are actually just people in these crazy beaver costumes, and all the animals are just people in these giant costumes, and it's so funny. And I know it sounds ridiculous. Just give it a watch. You are going to have a great time with this. I laughed from beginning to end. I mean, Kelly was kind of like, what are you watching? But I don't know. I had a great time with this. And what I can tell you is watch it with friends. And if you don't have a group of friends who are interested in watching it, if you are over 21 and it's legal where you are, pop a gummy and you're going to have the time of your life, because this is so much fun. And it's a beautiful release. I think the standard version, Vinegar Syndrome's having a sale right now. The standard release is back up on the site. It was completely sold out, but they have the standard release back up on the site. I would say give it a grab. It's got a ton of special features, and it is, like I said, if you like classic comedy, silent black and white comedy, you are going to eat this up because it is just so much fun. And that's all I can say about it. It's just fun, fun, fun. So that's Hundreds of Beavers. That is one of my tops for the year, believe it or not. And you're either going to love it or you're not, but give it a try. And then I have 2 more, one of which, this is one of my, I would say, top 4 for the year, but I don't have the physical copy yet. I'm going to try and put a picture in here if my new computer will allow me to do it. But I haven't gotten the physical copy yet. It's on pre-order. The Substance. I know a lot of people loved it. Total body horror movie. It's about trying to capture your youth and keep your youth. And there's this injection that the people take. Demi Moore, I think she just won a Golden Globe for her portrayal in this. just last night. But it's people that want to stay young, and they'll do anything to stay young, and they're only supposed to stay, and they do this shot, and they're only supposed to stay in the young body for so long. If they stay in it too long, bad things can start to happen. And all I can say is it is not a movie that you should be eating while you watch, because it is extreme body horror, but it is so brilliantly done. It is brilliantly shot. It is a beautifully shot movie. It is really disgusting in parts, but on the other hand, so well done. And it has such a message about our obsession with staying young, and especially Hollywood's obsession with staying young. And it really hammers home that point. But if you have not seen The Substance, definitely put it on your list. If you can handle body horror, if you're put off by like body horror things, you're going to be so grossed out you're not even going to watch it. But if you can watch it for the story and you can put up with the grossness of parts of it, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Because when it gets really disgusting, it's actually, parts of it are actually really funny. And I think you're going to enjoy it. But if you can put up with that part of it, definitely give it a watch. But The Substance is it's right up there, and like I said, one of my very tops. And this last film that I have here, I know for a fact, I knew it when I put it on the list, it is not going to be for everyone. But this is a list of my favorites of 2024, and this was absolutely a favorite of mine for 2024. The film is slow. It's a character study. You have to be patient with it, but I think if you like this kind of film and you like Saoirse Ronan in particular, I think you're going to love it. If you don't like a slower paced character study, you're going to be bored to death. But I thought this was fantastic, and I think it's one of her best performances. It's a very adult feeling performance from her, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, her performances are always great, but I feel like this is just, it's something so different from her, and it's called The Outrun. And Saoirse Ronan plays a gal who is struggling with her sobriety. She's an alcoholic. She's trying to stay sober. She's also trying to navigate the relationships within her family, with her parents, her father, who is also an alcoholic, who struggles with his own sobriety. She's trying to kind of help him. And we all know that you cannot work on yourself when you're an alcoholic or an addict and try to fix someone else. I mean, that never works, but she's trying. And basically what we do is we follow her around as she tries to navigate her own sobriety and her own path, find her own path back to mental and physical health. And I just think she does an amazing job. It is a beautifully shot movie. The cinematography is amazing. Saoirse Ronan gives a home run of a performance, and it's a very heartfelt movie. Like I said, slow. It's a slow build of a movie. But for me, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just, it takes its time telling the story that it wants to tell. And if you have any interest in films about, character studies about addiction or sobriety or alcoholism or anything like that, this would definitely be one to check out. And like I said, you could always stream them before you buy them. So this is one that I think it's on, I believe this is on Netflix right now. So you can definitely check it out. But The Outrun is my last favorite film of 2024. Also, I want to mention that Hundreds of Beavers is also, it's available on Netflix. So if you can't get your hands on it or you don't want to bother buying it, check it out on Netflix because it'll make you laugh. But those are my favorites of 2024. Like I said, my list probably doesn't look anything like yours. We might have some things in common. Let me know in the comments. What are your favorites of 2024? What are you looking forward to in 2025? I have a whole list of those too. I want to thank you as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found a few films that maybe you want to add to your watch list. Check out, investigate. Maybe you'll find some new favorites yourself. And as always, thank you for anybody who clicked on this video. You know I appreciate everyone who takes their time to check out these videos, even if you only watch 5 minutes. If you enjoy things like this and anything about physical media, consider subscribing. Hit the bell notification so you know when I upload again. And one of my biggest goals for the upcoming year, 2025, besides posting more, which has to happen, is to make this a space where you can just come and get find an escape from the real world, because I know things are getting a little dicey out there and we could be in for a little bit of a rough road. And I hope to keep this channel a place where you can just come and feel welcome and have fun and have a few laughs, and we can share comments back and forth and movies that we love, because that's what this is all about. So I hope you're all doing well, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. So for now, that's a wrap.